There we go, there we have it. And in the meantime, Tito is actually just multitasking and sending all of his forces in to attack Grizzle's front. And Grizzle just has a couple of hiders and a couple of zerglings. All these zerglings are going to do a bunch of damage again. I don't think he has quite enough to take out this force, but he's got definitely enough to push Tito back and start macroing up the army again. But we actually don't see any production coming out for either player right now. They're both so concentrated on macro right now. Some very, very nice blink back coming out of Tito. I would love to see macro though. Just floating freaking billion things. Stalker coming in for Tito. He does not have any gas and he does not want to produce Zealot for some reason. Grizzle has pulled all of the drones off of his main, which is mined out, and they're just going to go run right past Tito's Stalkers, which is very bad. Drones are expensive. Drones are not something that you just want to run by a bunch of Stalkers like that. And Grizzle is going to lose this natural, and I do believe this is going to be a game. He's not going to be able to outproduce this kind of approach on farming in any short amount of time. And again, some very, very nice blink back out of Tito. I would love, again, and I feel like a broken record, I would love to see some macro there, just because he's floating a billion resources, and if he had like, 35 zealots, that would be like super, super GG. And would be worth losing a couple more Stalkers. All those Mutalisks for Grizzle that were just sitting in that corner all game did just get taken out by the Stalkers. You can't let things just sit in this game. It's just bad. I think I've started to say this 4 times. Well, when you've got a bunch of really fast units, what you really need to be doing is you just need to be going in for pokes. You need to say, hey, I've got all of these Mutalisks, and I don't necessarily expect them to survive, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use scouting, I'm going to use them for harass, and I'm going to use them to force my opponent to react to me. Because when you've got a whole bunch of Mutalisks flying over your main, unless you've got a bunch of static defenses, you need to do something, and GG does come out of Grizzle. What a comeback wall. No, I think you were really ahead all game. And I'm actually going to go back and look at that. We're going to go and look at resources. We can see the food is 3 to 80 at the very end right here. I agree that was a very, very good job staying with it. Tito did the right thing getting these cannons and really hunkering down against the Mutalisks, but I don't really think Grizzle actually chose to do any damage. He didn't take out all of these buildings were just free when he had those Mutalisks and Speedlings. All of those buildings were just free, and he could have killed a billion of them. He could have taken down all of Tito's tech. He could have taken out the cyber core, and then he couldn't have built any anti-air other than those cannons. He could have taken out the forging, and then he wouldn't have been able to build any more cannons. And then he could have just, macroed up. And once he was macroed up, there's nothing. And I'm actually going to go back and watch this on like time 6, so we can look at food all the way through the game. This is going to take several minutes. I think this replay was posted on Reddit under the headline, "What a Comeback," and I'm sorry that I'm going to spend like 5 minutes right here just refuting your theory. I don't necessarily think you're a bad person or anything. I just think that this wasn't necessarily that much of a comeback, and more of just Grizzle not really taking advantage of his advantage, if that makes sense. He didn't really do anything when he was in the lead. He was just like, I'm a little bit in the lead, but I'm just going to let Tito macro right back up. And as I say that, I do realize that Tito did lose a whole bunch of drones, and he was down probes rather, and he was down several probes. But he had some very, very nice micro at his base. You can't really be that offensive with roaches against a decent Toss who's got Stalkers, and especially Immortal, just because the roaches die so quickly to decent micro, just because Toss can kind of micro around. Unless you've got way, 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 way more roaches than you have Stalkers, and you're just in their face, and you're killing their production, so that they have to be engaging. We can see Grizzle coming up for a little poke, and he's going to lose like a billion things. It's relatively even right now. Grizzle is trivially, or he's going to be trivially behind after he loses a couple of roaches here. Oh my god. Tito's food cap for like the first of 5 times. Food is exactly even. Food is still exactly even. Some nice micro coming out of Tito right here. Roaches going down. Tito's food cap again. Oh my god. Food is perfectly even. And Tito's loading a bajillion minerals. Grizzle is expanding. The other thing is that, at least as a Zerg player, and I'm probably projecting, and Grizzle probably doesn't do this at all, what ends up happening to me a lot is I'll expand, it'll get the hatchery up, and then I'll have like 7 drones in it, and I'll be like, ooh, I am up a base, even though I've got 7 drones in my hatchery and like 15 of my main. So I'm actually like down a base, essentially, just because neither is anywhere near at the saturation of my opponent's one base, and that's especially really, really bad against Terran, because they've got mules. So food is, Grizzle is actually ahead, several food. He's just gonna go ahead and go in with a Zergling poke. Grizzle is still ahead on food. Grizzle is still ahead on food. Grizzle still has enough of an army. He's way down on harvesters. He's down 5 harvesters. I understand that they're just way down. And we're going to pop back over to resources. Grizzle is still ahead on food. Grizzle is ahead a bunch of food. He's ahead 10. That's pretty big. It's 20%. Grizzle is still ahead on food. Grizzle is getting farther ahead on food just because all these Zerglings are dying. And these Zerglings are doing a little bit of economic damage. He's up like 8 harvesters, but that's, especially with Chrono Boost, that's just very, very fast for Tito to get back. And what we've seen here is that Grizzle has just been going after Tito's probes, and he hasn't been going after Tito's army or Tito's production. And here we see a little bit of base trading going on. Tito is going to say, no, you've been killing all of my economy, so I'm just going to take out your infantry, take out a bunch of your drones, and we're going to tap back on over to incoming. We can see the harvester count is very even right now. It's not the most even thing in the world, but there's only a 3 harvester difference right now. So Mutalisk harass going to go on, and those Mutalisks aren't going to be able to get any probes, and they're not really going to be able to snipe any buildings. I'm talking way too fast. Oh my god. That infestation pit coming out. That infestation pit doesn't really do anything for either player. Harvester count is very even. And I know my hotkeys, oh my god. And right here is the point where Tito is down on food. And I'm just going to pause this for a second and pretend I'm day 9. So Tito is down on food. But here's what's going on. Grizzle is floating 1 billion resources. Right? So he's got a bunch of minerals. Grizzle is producing roaches. And these roaches are going to die to an attack right up here because of a little bit of Stalker Micro. And that's really, I think, what decides the game. I'm going to go ahead and unpause this and just watch this on ×3 for a little bit. Again, pretending I'm day 9. Look at these idle Mutalisks, though. Oh, these Mutalisks also all died at the Stalkers, completely inappropriately. Same with these Lings. Not necessarily inappropriately, but if he had saved those Lings and just moved in with both of those and the Mutalisks, those Stalkers would have died in sort of an awesome combined assault. We do see Blink coming up, and we also see some cannons coming in for Tito right here. This really helps, just building static defenses and really hunkering down. We can see that Tito is down 10 food, which is about as much as he was down earlier, and Grizzle has all of these Mutalisks, and we're going to see Grizzle lose a bunch of roaches and a bunch of Mutalisks to a little bit of missed micro again here in a second, which is really, I think, where the comeback happens. Oh my gosh, few Mutalisk kill. Oh my gosh. See, if he had still had those Lings, he just could have ran into the Lings and attacked with both the Lings and the roaches and the Mutalisks at the same time, which would have just completely wiped Tito off of the map. Grizzle coming in, and again we see that all of these roaches are focusing on these buildings, focusing on Zealot, focusing on these probes, while the Stalkers and the Cannons, and they're actually doing a bunch of damage to the Cannons, while the Stalkers and the Cannons are able to focus them down. Actually want to check them. Cannons do 20 damage to armored, and Stalkers do 15, so Stalkers are really very effective against roaches. So are Cannons. Cannons are just kind of good. Overall, they're very nice. They're detectors, they attack ground and air. And again, these Mutalisks are just sitting here. So, food is really even right here. Tito is down like 7, just because all of those roaches were lost. And he's going to be up just a little more because he's going to be able to micro these Blink Stalkers very well. And as I say that, I am a complete liar. And Grizzle is back in the game. Oh no, Tito is deciding, oh my god, Tito is floating 2k. And as soon as Tito decides to spend his resources, really, he's back in the game. Grizzle, in the meantime, isn't quite floating as many resources, but I'm going to pop on over to 2 harvesters. We can see that both players are in even harvesters, despite Zerg being up a base, and that was what I was talking about earlier about me playing Zerg and being down. And Immortals shoot your roaches if they're not focus fired down immediately, and it's very easy just to pull back your Immortal while it's being focus fired, so that the Stalkers get a whole bunch of free pot shots off on roaches. I'm going to pop back on over 2 resources, and we can see that right here, this is about where Tito's really back up in the game. He's able to take out that Queen, he's able to take out all this production for Grizzle. The other thing is that, especially in when you're not playing like super high level platinum games, it's generally better to take out the other guy's production. We can see actually Grizzle doing that right here, and he was able to take out the body facility either. So I'm really preaching to the choir. But it's better to take out the other guy's production than his income most of the time, just because he's going to be floating a bunch of resources. But if you kill his army and his production, he can't build up anything and do it. We can see Tito coming in with this push to end the game again. So that was Rainbows commentating a StarCraft game. If you enjoyed this, please do not be afraid to subscribe. If you did not, please do not be afraid to leave lots of nasty negative comments. Yeah, Rainbows out.